What's poppin'? What's poppin', everybody? Is my mic on? My mic is on. All right. Sorry for the delay. I was posting to my story real quick. But what up, Soda Pop? Did you watch the King Green and Buck podcast? I have not yet, but I saw it got posted today, Soda Pop. How was it? Any viral moments from that episode? Let me know the parts I should clip off, Soda Pop. That's what I was thinking. Let me know the parts I should clip off. I'm going to watch it probably tomorrow. But save me the trouble. Let me know the most viral part of the podcast. Space Kid, hi. What up, Space Kid? Let me pull up a couple things. But yeah, I mean, you see the thumbnail, and I'm here to confirm that I've spoken to a source, a secret source. I will not name my source, but I've spoken to a source, and I can confirm that Nate Diaz is not happy with Nick Diaz. All right, Nate Diaz is not happy with Nick Diaz right now after his release from rehab. They're officially beefing. So I know last night I announced to you guys that Nick is not happy with his brother for letting him stay in rehab for the last year. But, you know, long story short, Nate is on his mom's side. And they're beefing, right? They want Nick to be in rehab. Nick doesn't want to be in rehab. Nate is on his mom's side with keeping him in there. And Nick believes that his brother should have broke him out as soon as he got fucking kidnapped and put in there in the first place. So I got more details for you, but give me a second just to pull some things up. While I'm setting up here, everybody like the stream. Everybody subscribe if you're not subscribed. I've got quite a few details. I'm just trying to, like, you know, once I get started, I'll just release them all to you. But I'm just getting situated here real quick. Oh, yeah, that whole Logan Paul thing, whole Jake Paul thing wasn't a surprise, LOL. We called it last night, Space Kid. We fucking called it last night. I need sources, leader. Kevin from Chicago. I can't reveal my source, homie. Number one, I don't know if he wants to be named. But number two, that's my secret source, right? If I reveal it, there could be people watching right now who want to go and steal my secret source. Start hitting him up. So I definitely don't want to reveal my source, but best believe, you know, I've spoken to someone credible. You think I would lie to you boys? The information I'm about to tell you will prove I ain't lying to you boys. All right? You think I would be that irresponsible to make a thumbnail with Nick and Nate Diaz saying they are beefing without confirming it with both sides of the parties? Of course I wouldn't. Of course I wouldn't. So yes, I've confirmed with both sides, Nick and Nate's side, they're beefing. Neither of them are happy with each other right now. Neither of them. And I mean, I guess I could just start ranting. You know, according to my source, some of the things I found out today, essentially, the whole video where Nick got was lighting incense outside, right on the curb. That's what Nick claims. Basically, the story with that is that was before Nick was going to fight Vicente Luque, right? Well, apparently, Cesar Gracie called off the fight because Cesar Gracie wasn't going to get paid from that fight. He, like, contractually wasn't on it. Nick had a different manager at the time who was contractually on it to get paid through that fight. So Cesar Gracie essentially canceled the fight, also because it was in Saudi Arabia or something, and he doesn't like to fly. So he canceled the fight. And then Nick Diaz, that video that surfaced was about a week after the fight got canceled. So Nick basically, according to my source, kind of crashed out after Cesar Gracie canceled the bout for Vicente Luque for two reasons. One, he wasn't contractually on it. And two, he was basically telling Nick, we'll get you a fight in the States because Cesar doesn't like to fly. And if you guys remember, that fight was booked for UFC Saudi Arabia or UFC Abu Dhabi. So that's to explain one detail I found out today as far as like that whole cancellation. Apparently, after Cesar Gracie canceled the bout, the UFC was trying to get in contact with Nick to be like, yo, what the fuck's going on? Why did you cancel the bout? We just announced it, right? Nick was nowhere to be found, not answering any calls, and then that video popped up. And so also, yeah, the UFC was paying about 10 grand to keep Nick in rehab as well. They've been paying about 10 grand a month to keep Nick in rehab. If you guys are wondering how Nick got out of rehab, basically, Nick's cousin Ruben, who he doesn't fuck with, had his power of attorney. So Nick's cousin Ruben was the power of attorney. But somehow, some way, Ruben decided to sign over the power of attorney to Nick's mom. And then Nick was able to convince his mom from there to get him out of rehab because it's been about a year and all this stuff. This is what my source is telling me. The mom was kind of like, well, it's been about a year, like, you know, maybe it's time, blah, 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 right? Maybe the time, it's been enough time. Maybe he's been sober long enough to not want to go back to drugs. So long story short, they arranged for Nick to get out of rehab and sent to San Diego to finish off some type of treatment facility over there. Nick completely skipped out on that and he went to Vegas. Okay, stick with me. Nick completely skipped out on that according to my source. He went to Vegas, married Kay. Married Kay. So Nick, after getting out of rehab, him and Kay have gotten married. People don't know that. That hasn't been reported on. Nick is now married to Kay. All right? A lot of stuff going on here. A lot of stuff. But so that's why, right, Nick and Nate are essentially beefing because Nick just convinced his mom to let him out, and he was supposed to go to another facility out here in San Diego, leave Mexico essentially, but go to another facility out here just as like a final step before he really gets released. And he completely skipped out on that. So Nate isn't happy about that. You know, like I said, Nate is on his mom's side of things. So Nate's not happy that his brother's doing that. Also, Nate has been shelling out money for his brother, and his brother is essentially not cooperating with the money that he's been shelling out for his treatment, right? So Nate is spending good money after bad on his brother. You know, Nick just convinced his mom to let him out, set him up to be somewhere else. They paid money for it, right? Nick completely skipped out on it. Nate's not happy about that. Nate is on the side of saying, we want to get you clean, right? We don't want to get you released yet, especially to the wrong people, i.e., right, according to Nate's side of the camp, right, the family side of things, the wrong people to release Nick to, they still believe were Martin, Sano, and Kay. They still believe that. All right? They still believe that. So, I mean, that's a big update, right? That's a huge update for you guys. But, you know, also, according to my source, Nate was essentially saying he doesn't want to see his brother Nick right now. If his brother Nick comes to Stockton and they come face to face, they could come to blows. All right? If Nick comes to Stockton, Nate is saying they could potentially come to blows. That's the status of their relationship right now. Nate is not fucking with Nick, and Nick is not fucking with Nate. Because, right, for the two reasons, I'll say it again, Nick ain't fucking with Nate because Nate kept him in the rehab as well, right? Nate is in support of his mom, who doesn't want him to be with Kay, who wants him to be in rehab, who wants him to get sober, right? That's why Nick is mad at Nate, because he believes Nate should have broke him out. Nate's mad at Nick because Nick isn't appreciative of the help that him and his family are trying to provide him, right? He's taking it for granted. He's choosing to be with these troublemakers, according to them, Martin, Sano, and Kay. All right? And that's why, if Nick does return to Stockton at this moment in time, they could come to blows. Now, there's some things going on right now as well. If you're asking why they're beefing, you know, the whole gym thing, right? So it used to be Nick Diaz Academy, correct? But Nick Diaz has not been in Stockton for years. Nate has been in Stockton all this time. In between fights, you know, keeping a family over there, raising his family in Stockton. That's where Nate lives. That's where Nate operates his gym. There's this beef between them over the gym. because it's essentially been taken over. It's not essentially, it has been taken over. It's no longer Nick Diaz Academy, it's Nate Diaz Academy. All right. It's now been changed to Nate Diaz Academy because Nick has not been in Stockton to take care of the gym. The gym would have been nothing if Nate didn't take it and make it his own. In fact, I think one of the gyms closed anyway. There's some story behind it where, like, the Diaz brothers are also using Cesar Gracie's name for the belt promotion systems and stuff like that to be a Gracie gym, right? So Cesar Gracie is also plotting on them, charging them like $100K or something like that a year to use the Gracie name, essentially, and they got obliged by that. I think Nick wasn't paying it, so Nate took it over. Nate's been paying the $100K and all this stuff to use the Gracie name. Nate's been paying the mortgages, right? Nate, I think, built a new gym after the last gym got foreclosed on or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But essentially, Nate's been the one footing the bill for the last 5 years. So he made it Nate Diaz Academy. He wanted to keep it Nick Diaz Academy, but with the whole Cesar Gracie thing, it just had to be changed eventually, because I think the story, now that I'm remembering it, is it was Nick Diaz Academy with the Gracie logo. Cesar was charging $100K to use his logo for the belt promoting system as a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu gym affiliated with Nick Diaz, right? Nate changed it to Nate Diaz Academy, and he changed the logo so that he wouldn't have to pay Cesar Gracie $100K. So he's no longer, if you look at the logo, it's no longer a Gracie logo, right? It's just NDA. It's not the whole Gracie logo that they had before with the Nick Diaz Academy. And so through that process, it did become Nate Diaz Academy. And now Nick is upset because Nick feels, once again, this big misunderstanding between the both of them. But Nick feels like Nate stole his gym, he stole his students, right? And that's why Nick feels like he's entitled to be mad at his brother. And that's why they're beefing. That is why these guys are beefing. Over a gym, over getting released from rehab, over spending money on Nick, right? Coming out of Nate's pocket, right? Putting their mom through a tough time, according to the source on the side of Nate, right? I'm not choosing a side here. I'm just telling you, I spoke to a source on Nate's side today. Okay, and this is the information I got from Nate's side. Last night, I spoke to Nick directly. I got information from Nick's side. I've spoken to Kay. I've relayed that information to you guys in the past, right? I've been reporting on all of Jose Garcia's posts on Instagram. So I'm not choosing sides here. I've reported it all as these people in the Nick Diaz camp have been reporting it, right? This is a very messy situation, an extremely messy situation. I mean, Kay's beefing with the mom. Kay's alleging she's in a relationship with both Martin Sano and Nick. Nick and Nate are beefing, right? Nick's allegedly skipped out on rehab after he got released from this place, right? The UFC's been dropping $10K a month on Nick to be in rehab, right? Nick's pissed at the UFC for that. So all this stuff going on. I don't think the UFC is going to keep paying for Nick now that he's skipped out on things, because now they're getting their money wasted. And it's clear as day that Nick does not want to be in rehab. He doesn't think he has a problem. And I was asking a question too. I was saying, is Nick ready to be sober though? Because hopefully, if in one of the best case scenarios, he's been gone for a year, he hasn't been on drugs, maybe it's going to take some time for him, or the cravings, so to speak, have gone away, right? My source tells me that he was told that some conversations he's been having in rehab, he can't wait to get back out and use again. This is what I'm being told. All right. I'm also being told Nick was drug tested and he tested positive for everything. Upon his entry into rehab, he was drug tested and he tested positive for everything. You name it. You name it. All right. I'm not going to start naming things, but what my source said, he tested positive for everything. He's on everything. And so that's pretty much, what's been going on. But yeah, just reading off this most recent chat from Not You saying the reason he got married is because then he can't be held against his will in Mexico because wife has priority over mom so she can pull him out. So you see what I mean? I'm not making this shit up. right? I'm clearly not making this shit up. It sounds crazy that Nick got out of rehab, skipped out on another facility he was supposed to be relocated to in San Diego, right? Went to Vegas and got married to Kay, right? That sounds crazy. But look at No You explaining the reason why he would do something like that. So shout out to No You for that. But I mean, yeah, Nick is allegedly married to Kay now after getting released from rehab. And it makes sense because now, his mom can never have control over him because he's married. Legally, Kay's going to have the control if anything happens with his, health or medical or whatever the case you want to call it, as far as this rehab and drug problem goes, allegedly. So, HT, aka Word One, saying, "Hey Jay, what up, homie? If you're just joining, I've been on a rant for about a good 15, 20 minutes, I'd say." AD Kid saying, "What's up, Jacob and crew? What up, AD Kid?" Not much, just breaking down the Nick Diaz story. And I wonder if Nick will see this and get upset, but it's like, I'm just reporting the facts. I'm not saying that I believe either party, right? But I'm just sharing with you guys what's going on, the information I'm hearing from both sides. I hope Jake takes him under his wing. Yeah, so a couple things that I was just kind of also getting some information on. So Jake is the one who's kind of all over. He's friends with everybody, right? Jake doesn't have any beefs. Even the whole Neon thing, if you guys are wondering how Neon and the whole Nate Diaz collab came together, Jake was the one who set up that Neon and Nate Diaz collab. It wasn't Nate who was even really accepting about it, right? Nate was like, all right, that's cool. If you already got it going on, like, why not? But Jake was the one who set that up. Jake was the one who made that shit happen. So Jake is cool, with everybody, including the whole Neon thing and squashing that beef. Now Jake is able to be around Nick. Apparently Nick showed up to the gym one time before he went away to rehab. Nick showed up to the gym high and like on some other shit, not weed, not alcohol. And Jake had to kick him out of the gym and told him, don't come back if you're going to do that again. So Jake's had his moments with Nick as well. But Jake is really the middleman here. He can be cool with everybody, right? Nate's not mad at Jake for kicking it with Nick. Nate's saying the same thing that Otto's kind of saying, or sorry, Kevin from Chicago's kind of saying, which is hopefully Jake can take him under his wing because Nate doesn't want to be around him right now. They are going to come to blows. That's why I said if Nick comes to Stockton and him and Nate come face to face at this moment in time, there could be a fight. All right. In fact, Nick could potentially get jumped, if I could say that. It's that bad. It's literally that bad. It's that bad because they look at it as if Nick left all of them, right? And Nate's been the one being there for everybody, right? Holding it down, holding the team down, training people, paying the bills, and essentially being there for people when they need him, right? So their loyalty belongs to Nate at this moment in time. If Nick comes back and he wants to start a beef with his brother or even Jose Garcia, right? I think they're all in cahoots right now. They're not going to let that happen. I wanted to add this in too. I don't know if it's too late for me to show it, if it's already been deleted off his story. But, guess who was with Nate last night? Because I told you, right? Nick doesn't support what Jose Garcia has been posting about him, correct? I told you guys that. Jose Garcia is the guy who's been posting about Martin Sano getting knocked out, calling him a bum, saying fuck him, fuck Kayla, right? He's been giving all the updates on Nick. As I'm scrolling down, you can see these photos of Nick, right? All these big messages. It's a beef between Kayla, the mom, the team, everybody, right? Super messy. Positive updates and shit like that. Oh, by the way, I don't want to get off track here, but this picture of Nick, allegedly, this is the story behind this photo. Martin Sano basically set something up where Nick would do a seminar at a gym. Nick pulled up to the gym unknowingly that he was supposed to be doing the seminar, went in the bathroom, did some drugs, dipped out of the gym and on the seminar, and they found him here like this. That's just a quick story that they told me about this photo. But that's the type of shit Nick was up to. And Martin as well. They're saying Martin is doing bookings for Nick, right? Not even letting Nick be aware of it, just driving Nick to the places and expecting Nick to just like perform for him. like a fucking zoo animal, essentially. Nick's going in bathrooms, getting high, dipping out on the classes. They're going out finding him because the gym paid, right? The gym paid them, and Nick was nowhere to be found. So they went and found him, and they took a picture of him because they were like, what the fuck? We paid you. So that's where this picture came from. The wife of the gym owner apparently came out and found Nick somewhere nearby. That's just a side note. But what I was going to say about Jose Garcia is he was with Nate last night. And as I was telling you guys, I asked Nick why Jose Garcia is saying negative things about Kayla and Martin Sano. Nick says he's crazy. He doesn't fuck with him. He doesn't support him. Well, right, I was saying, you know what? I believed Jose because if Jose is lying about you, I would have thought Nate would have checked him, and Nate kicks it with him, right? All the way up until last night, Jose and Nick were kicking it together. Now, let me try to play you some footage. Hopefully, the story hasn't expired yet. Here he is in the car with Nick, or with Nate.
Thick little bitch and she got some good. Broke ass niggas ain't getting no. Just hit her.
Can you guys hear it? So they're in Nate's Tesla. That's literally Nate. That's literally Nate, if you can't tell. Literally Nate. BBJ Ninja Recovery kicking it with Nate. Is this adding up to you guys? Right? Is it adding up to you guys? This should show you that Nate is in support of BBJ Recovery and Nick isn't, right? Why is that? Because it seems to me, based off of hearing both sides, Nick is alienating the people who care the most about him, unfortunately. And I'm going to say that. I'm going to keep it a buck. You guys know I wanted to be respectful to Nick and really not be presumptuous. But based off everything I've been seeing, I really think Nick is alienating the people who care the most about him, who want the best for him, and he's choosing to surround himself with the people who are making it easy on him and abiding by his wishes, aka getting him out of rehab and all this stuff, potentially letting him continue to use, right? Nate's not going to let him keep using. Nate is kicking it with BBJ Ninja Recovery, who has been updating everyone on his social media over the past year about Nick, right? Nothing but positivity, and Nick still isn't fucking with it. But Nate is. So read between the lines. Read between the lines. How bad of a guy is BBJ Ninja Recovery, aka Jose Garcia, if Nate fucks with him and Nate's the one who wants the best for his brother, right? How bad of a guy is BBJ Ninja Recovery no matter what Nick has to say about him? Or is Nick, like I already got done saying, alienating the people who care about him the most and going against the people who care about him the most? You know, let's continue this story. But AD Kid says, Jacob, your assessment of Nick appears to be on point. You know, I got to say it, man. I don't want to come off as a fucking idiot. You know, I'm trying not to be presumptuous, like I said, but I got to call a spade a spade. You know, and that doesn't mean I got any malicious intent towards Nick. And that's the thing, right? I got no malicious intent towards Nick. I honestly want the best for him. So I ain't on no hate and shit. Even if Nick sees this, I ain't on no hate and shit, homie. Not at all. Jew saying jumped is crazy. Jumped is crazy, Jew. But I ain't fucking lying, homie. You think I would lie to you, Jew? Jew, you know I wouldn't lie to you, homie. You fucking know I wouldn't lie to you, Jew. And honestly, if Nick goes there and he starts a beef, the boys could jump him. They're not fucking with Nick right now. And their loyalty is with Nate. It belongs to Nate. Crazy, right? And you know, this could all be Nick's as well. But Nick chooses to be away from everybody, right? Nick chooses this. Also, just a side note again, because all these facts are just coming to my head. But apparently, you know how Nick was saying how he went back to Stockton a while ago and he doesn't like being in Stockton because when he went back, his bikes were stolen and shit? Guess who they believe stole it? Martin Sano. Martin Sano bought it or stole them and sold them, essentially. And Nick just chooses not to believe it. That's what they say. I don't know if that's a fact. I'm just telling you what they say. You know, that whole story about Nick getting his $8,000 bike stolen, because they're not these cheap bikes. They're these racing bikes. And Nick was pissed about that. That's the reason why he doesn't like going back to Stockton, because nobody takes care of his shit. Yeah, because Martin Spartan Sano allegedly sold it. Stole it and sold it. And who does Nick kick it with? Martin Sano. I don't want to, you know, I'm going to have to edit that out later, so I might as well just mute it now. Everybody, by the way, like the stream. Like the stream. Everybody like the stream. I mean, what's going on here? I know you boys are clearly enjoying the fucking news that I'm providing for you right now. You guys are fucking enjoying it so much you forgot to like the stream, motherfuckers. Like the stream. Comment your opinions on all of this right now. You know, I'm ready to read some chats. I pretty much divulged all the information to you guys that I got. See, here he is with Nate, right? Chris Avila, right? Nick's boys. These are the boys. They're still together. Nick ain't with them right now. If Nick is pissed at Nate, what does that tell you? Nate's with all the boys still, all the day one homies, right? It's shown right here on Jose Garcia's Instagram. The only one missing is Nick. Scott Snyder, what up, bro? Hope you good. I'm good, homie. I'm good. I'm doing good, homie. Shout out to Scott for popping in the chat tonight. 80 Kid saying, Jacob, remember Nate has self-admitted he gets nervous around folks, and you combine that with drug addiction and a crazy GF, that's a recipe for madness. I think you meant to say Nick, AD Kid. I don't want to get that mistaken for people listening. I think you meant to say Nick has self-admitted he gets nervous around folks, and you combine that with drug addiction and a crazy GF, that's a recipe for madness. Yeah, and you add denial. And you add denial to that, AD Kid, because Nick doesn't have a problem, right? All the things you're mentioning, like a drug addiction, a crazy GF, Nick doesn't see it like that, right? So he could be in denial, right? I'm having a hard time trying not to mince my words, right? I'm not saying Nick has a drug addiction, Nick's girlfriend is crazy. I'm just saying that's a possibility, and if that is true and he's choosing to be with them, well, then that would make him in denial. Right? If he's choosing to ignore that he does have a drug addiction, because how am I supposed to know for a fact? Right? I'm telling you, though, the source told me when he went to rehab, they drug tested him and it fucking came back everything positive. But then Nick tells me I was never drug tested. So it's like they're always you can tell that they're debating about these things inside the camp, right? Because they're talking about common things and they're on opposite sides. Miata Boy says, I'm confused, Jacob, because yesterday you were on Nick's and Kay's side, and now you're on Nate's and their mom's side now. Whose side are we on? We can't just flip. I'm not on anybody's side. I'm not on anybody's side. But I am allowed to make an assessment and call a spade, right? And I did call it. I think it was very clear what I said. And that is that I think Nick is potentially alienating the people who care about him most. I hadn't spoken to Nate's side of the camp yet. So I was only privy to the information I had at hand last night, Miata Boy. You got to keep that in mind too. I didn't speak to anybody from Nate's camp yet until today. Now that I'm privy to that information, now that I can compare it to the information the information Nick told me, right? I'm able to make an assessment, and I gave it. And like I said, I'll say it again. I think the people like Nate, right? Jose Garcia, Nick's mom, They care about him. They want the best for him. Nick doesn't appreciate it for whatever reason. And he's making them the bad guy. That's what I think is going on here. Now, Nick is probably going to hate me for that take, right? Nick is not going to be happy with me for that take. But now that I spoke to both sides, I'm confident enough to give a take like that. Last night, I wasn't confident enough to give a take like that, and it's a live stream. So, I was excited at the moment in time. I'm talking to Nick. Nick's fresh out of rehab, so I might have been acting. I might have been, talking not as responsibly as I should have been. But you guys should be able to know the difference sometimes when I'm just like fucking saying random shit. Who's your source from the Nate side, though? Homie, I don't got to reveal my source, Miata boy. I'm not going to reveal my source. I already told you guys I'm not going to reveal the source. But do you think I would come to you with some bullshit? If you want to think that. If you want to think that I would come to you with some bullshit, that's fine by me. That's fine by me. But I wouldn't lie to you guys. I wouldn't lie to you guys. And for the record, for anyone wondering, I have a degree in journalism. Okay, I got the bachelor's degree in journalism. I know what I'm doing here. I know what I'm allowed to do, what I'm not allowed to do. And for anyone wondering if I'm not going to name my source, if that makes me less credible, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. You do not have to name your sources, and I will not name my source. And like I said, I got a degree in journalism. I know exactly what I'm doing. I would not lie to you guys. I ain't no internet motherfucker who just hopped on here, figured I would just do this as a hobby. You feel me? I know what I'm doing. I don't just speak out of my ass. All right. And, there was a lot of people disagreeing with me about that video from last year, saying that wasn't Nick Diaz. And like back then happened too. I wasn't just saying it was Nick Diaz. I had confirmed it was Nick Diaz from members in his camp. Different sources than I have now. Okay? That whole tweaking video of Nick that got him fucking drugged and kidnapped and sent to rehab in the first place. People were saying that's not Nick. I was saying it's Nick. They were calling me dumb for saying that. I literally had confirmed with sources then too. I don't just speak some fucking bullshit. If I'm coming to you guys with actual news, breaking it myself, it won't be no bullshit. So, but you won't be getting my source from me. Because guaranteed there's people watching this right now that are going to be DMing homie, trying to fucking steal my campaign, and this is all me. This is all me. And, revealing the source makes it difficult for everybody, okay? So my source is going to keep giving me information as I speak to him, and by revealing him, it's only going to make it more difficult for that to happen. So by me revealing it to the stream right now would result in you guys getting less information, and I don't think you guys want that. So shout out to everybody. We got everybody fucking vouching. You spit game, bruv. Not Jacob Solid. My man. Jew and Kevin from Chicago. And it's nothing against Miata Boy. I know he's just asking, but I want to make it clear about the whole source thing. I ain't full of cap. Okay, I ain't never been full of cap, and you boys know that. So this is breaking news. Straight breaking news from yours truly. Somebody clip this off and post it, because I ain't fucking lying. I ain't lying. And, this is going to get out eventually. So let time also prove me right. Because that's also why I decided today to post this. Because this is going to come out. It's too messy of a situation between the whole family right now. Cousins, mom, brothers, teammates, they're all involved. It's going to come out that Nick and Nate are beefing eventually. I'm just the first one to report on it. That's all. Juice Man from the LBC, my man Juice Man. That's where I went to college. Speaking of college, I went to Cal State Long Beach. Shout out to Long Beach. And Miata Boy saying, Jacob, you got a mic problem? Shit, homie, it's been the same. I ain't changed it since the last time. Hope Nick and Nate are solid. I mean, they're not at the moment, but hopefully they can get shit right. But there's going to be a lot of common ground that needs to be met. AD Kid says, Jacob, if you have seen Nick since he started, he hasn't allowed for any outsiders to help him. He's stuck to a close circle, and truly Nick needs help from unbiased professionals. Yeah, AD Kid, I would have to pretty much agree with you. I think that Nick probably needs some help. I mean, we can give it a go, right? Here's where I'm at. Okay, Miata Boy. Well, hopefully my mic is better. But if it's lagging or something, let me know that. Let me know if my mic is lagging, like if my mouth isn't syncing up with my audio. No diddy. But AD Kid, if you guys want to know where I'm at with Nick right now, like I say, I don't like to make assumptions. Even with everything I've said, I'm not gonna be like, Nick, you won't have you heard me once say Nick has a drug problem, Nick's a drug addict? No, right? Here's what I gotta say about it. I hope that now that Nick is out, even if he skipped out on the rehab in San Diego, now that he's officially out, I hope this could be, a good effort at staying sober. That's what I truly wish for Nick. Even though he's, doing things against everybody's wishes, against the grain of the people who love him. He feels like he's got his own way. He feels like he doesn't have a problem. I would like to see him just get sober. If he can get sober on his own without the help of his family, then so be it. It doesn't matter as long as he can get sober and remain sober, right? But if that's not the case, if he does relapse again, then, I think he needs help from professionals like AD is saying. So that's the roundabout way of me saying it. Like, I know he fucked up according to, his family members and all that stuff, and he's going against all their wishes. But the bottom line is get sober, whether you want to do it their way or your way. Just get sober. So he's right now trying to get sober his way, right? Nick's trying Nick's way. I hope it works out for him. If by any, circumstances it doesn't, well, then I think we need to reevaluate and he needs help from unbiased professionals. Now, is sending him to Mexico the way to do it? I don't know. I think the fucking California thing was a middle ground in San Diego. But here's what else I was going to tell you guys. Something else, that's what was happening, but I restarted and fixed it. Okay, me Audiboy, thank you for letting me know that. Oh, Space Kid saying, oh yeah, you are lagging. I thought it was just me. Honestly, I gotta take a look. I don't know if it's YouTube or my actual mic because I was noticing it too when I was replaying it. So if I got a mic problem, my apologies, boys. I'm not gonna fix it right now. I don't know what the fuck to do to fix it, but I'll look into it. Now, this is what I wanted to add. The reason why Nick wanted to get out of rehab, essentially, right? And the reason why his mom agreed to letting him go to that one in San Diego, which he skipped out on. Nick was very adamant about getting out of rehab right now because he was finalizing everything, right? He was getting ready to kind of be done with it all. It's been a year. There's only so long they can keep him. So here's the story. In order to finish rehab, you got to do some type of work program. So that was the next step for him, and that's what he was trying to avoid. And that's what he did avoid. So the last step for Nick was to go to a work program where they really almost break you, right? They send you to this place, you got to work, and you got to get broken even more. And Nick didn't want to do that. He figured that was going to be difficult for him. He didn't want to do it. He got, Ruben to sign off the power of attorney to his mom. He got his mom to release him from rehab and send him over here to California. And that's the story, though. That's why Nick got out. That's why he wanted to get out, because he was near finishing the program. And there was this work program you got to do to finish rehab, and he didn't want to do it, according to Nate's side of things. AD Kid say, Jacob, please consider those rehab places are hella expensive, like nearly $500 to $600 a day. So probably Mexico is less expensive. I'm sure it was, AD Kid. I'm sure it was. But the UFC's been paying it, and the UFC's been paying 10 grand a month for Nick. 10 grand a month for Nick. So shout out to the UFC for that. Because the UFC would get shit for not helping out Nick, not paying for him, right? But they've been shelling out $10K a month for Nick to be in rehab. And Nick kind of, he's allegedly fucking it off. Kevin from Chicago says the IQ of all involved is not good. Jake Shields, Nate and Nick and Martin are low IQ. Yeah. I don't want to say any of them are low IQ, Kevin from Chicago, but, I read out your opinion. I gave you a voice, homie, so I ain't muting you. I'm sharing it with the chat. Mike Co says, hey, everyone, what's poppin', Mike Co? No You is saying, when I was with... Okay, so No You is maybe someone who knows Nick. No You says, when I was with Nick, he used to talk shit about Kayla all the time. It wasn't until he talked to her that he switched up in rehab. Okay, so this is bringing up some more stuff to me right now. So if you guys want more details, here they are. Here they are. This is the story of how Nick got into rehab. All right, I'm going to tell you the story about how Nick got into rehab. Essentially, Kay wanted Nick to be in rehab initially, right? Kay wanted Nick to be in rehab. She couldn't deal with him or something like that. I think the drugs or something along those lines. It was a lot for her. Essentially, and keep in mind, Nick tells a different side of the story, but I'm going to tell you the side of the story that I heard today that conflates Nick's side of the story. Okay, so Kay wanted Nick to be in rehab, right? And that's why she also posted that video of Nick crashing out, lighting things on fire on the sidewalk, right? So is this stuff syncing up with you now? Wondering why would Nick's girlfriend do that to him? Well, she was fed up with him. She started going public with that stuff by posting that video of him lighting stuff on the sidewalk, all right? And then she also wanted him to be in rehab. She wanted him to get better. How did Nick get into rehab? Well, you're looking at him. Martin Spartan Sano is the one confirmed who drugged Nick and kidnapped Nick and took him to the Mexican rehab. It's Martin Sano, Nick's homie, right? Because Kay was up for it. Kay wanted Nick to go to rehab, and everybody wanted Nick to go to rehab at the time. So they were all in cahoots, right? So who does Nick spend the most time with? Martin and Kay. So Martin was the one who got him drugged, took him to the rehab, and checked him in. Now follow me here, right? As Nick began to get sober, he started to realize his errors of his ways. He didn't want to be with Kay anymore because he was getting sober. All right? That's when all this stuff started progressing as far as getting Kay out of the house, et cetera, right? These videos that you see coming out, the attorneys, with the restraining orders, the eviction notice, all this stuff. It's because Nick was getting his sobriety and he started to realize the errors of his ways and he didn't want to be around Kay anymore. That's when you're also seeing, photos of Nick with new girlfriends and stuff like that. So boom, right? This is where Kay switches it. Kay switches and no longer wants Nick in rehab. She wants him out, right? She wants him out. How convenient she wants him out. Because he found his sobriety. Now he doesn't want to be with her. Now her life's falling apart. And she's the one who put him in there in the first place. Right? So as soon as Nick started getting his sobriety and not wanting to be with Kay and dating other women, right? Kay switched the narrative, flipped the script, and started manipulating Nick and listening to all he had to say about getting him out of rehab. She'll help him out. She probably loves him and all this stuff. I'm making that part up. But follow me. Right? So Kay is the one who switched the fucking script and started being on Nick's side and manipulating him to make him feel like she loves him because she's the one who's listening to him and she's the one who's going to get him out. Right? So that switched the whole thing for Nick. The whole thing for Nick. And I don't know if he relapsed in rehab or anything like that, but he's a bit weak-minded, right? Because of what he's been going through in life and getting sobriety and stuff like that and getting sober, right? Being alone in Mexico, right? He almost doesn't know who to trust. And Kay manipulated that according to Nate's side of things and convinced him, that he needs to get out of rehab. They need to be together. Their life will be better off that way. And he bought into it. So that's that whole story of how he even went to rehab in the first place. Why Kay was in support of it. Then why Kay wasn't in support of it anymore. Nick realizing his errors of his ways, Kay recognizing that and manipulating him back into her arms. So that's the story, guys. That's the story. And shout out to fucking No You because his comment reminded me of that conversation I had today as well. I had a 2-hour conversation today about Nick and everything that's been transpiring. And homie said, when I was with Nick, he used to talk shit about Kayla all the time. It wasn't until he talked to her that he switched up in rehab. So, boom. The story I'm telling you and what Know You, however he knows this information, is writing in the chat right now, they sync up. And that's the thing, right? With my source today, that's the crazy thing, is that he didn't even know half the information I knew. But when he was saying stuff, I was completing a lot of the stories he was telling me. And he's like, damn, I didn't even know that. And I'm like, the fact that you don't know that and the fact that I'm able to sync up your stories, matching other evidence, right? proves to me that you're not bullshitting me right now. Because he was telling me, yeah, you know, Cesar Gracie didn't want Nick to take that fight in Saudi Arabia because he doesn't like to fly. So he told him, or no, he said the fight for Nick was out of the state and Cesar Gracie didn't want to fly. So he told Nick he would get something booked in Vegas. And I responded and I was like, yeah, because the fight was in Saudi Arabia. And he's like, oh, it was? And I'm like, yeah, that's why Cesar didn't want to fly. And he's like, yeah, that makes sense to me. And I'm like, yeah, bro. So that kept happening in the conversation. So I feel like homie wasn't bullshitting me. And I know he wasn't bullshitting me. I don't even need anything to prove it. I know homie wasn't bullshitting me for a fucking straight fact. So I don't even want to conflate things by like trying to like reason with you guys. There ain't no need to reason with you guys. He was not bullshitting me. But I was just giving you an example of how the conversation was flowing today. Miata Boy says Nick is a active fighter still. Of course, they're going to pay for it. Yeah, but he's not a part of the UFC roster anymore, Miata Boy. He got cut. I mean, according to Roster Watch. And Kevin from Chicago says UFC is paying for rehab. Yes, they are. They were. I don't know about it anymore because Nick skipped out. Apparently, that San Diego rehab was $10K a month. It was already paid for, set up for Nick, and Nick skipped out. So I don't know if UFC is going to keep paying for him. Jacob, remember after Nick fight with Robbie Lawler, he said he took the fight only for the money. It seems Cesar Gracie, those around him managing, were not really helping him. Yeah. The guys don't trust Cesar Gracie. Cesar Gracie's a bit of a scoundrel. You know, I'm going to say that too. Cesar's a bit of a scoundrel. Straight the fuck up, AD kid. Straight up. You know, the money for Nick was going to straight into Cesar's account. And Cesar gives Nick money from Nick's fucking purses. You guys know that's how it works? You obviously don't, but I'm giving you more information. Yeah, Cesar Gracie gets the money from Nick's fucking fights, and Cesar gives Nick the money. And for Nick's last fight with Robbie Lawler, 60% of it, 30% went to Cesar, 30% went to another manager of Nick's, and then the rest of it went to Nick, 40%. But Cesar always makes sure to get a cut of Nick's purses. That's why there was the discrepancy once again with the Nick Diaz and Vicente Luque bout, because Cesar Gracie wasn't on that contract. So he canceled the fight. Somehow, someway, he canceled the fight. He got his name on the contract so he would get a fucking piece of the purse. Miata Boy says on the UFC website, it says he's still active in the UFC. He hasn't been cut. Well, you know, the UFC website's been wrong before, right, Miata Boy? Didn't it say that Mokaev was on there or something? I feel like we had this conversation about another fighter in the past where you were looking at it. It said he was on there, but it was bullshit. 30% insane. Yeah. Nick's been getting fucked left and right. I mean, the fact that the money goes in Cesar's account is crazy. Oh, and not to mention, Mike Co, not to mention, Nick pays tax on the whole purse. So Cesar Gracie gets 30% tax-free. The other manager gets 30% tax-free. And Nick gets 40% taxed on 100% of it. Because it's Nick's reported income. And Nick isn't really, you know, privy enough to be filing taxes and acting like he's paying out people. So he gets stuck with it. And Cesar and his manager are fucking taking advantage of that, right? They're taking advantage of that. Of his, you know, that is a stupid move for Nick. So I will say of his stupidity there. Because if you're not going to fucking pay attention to taxes, you're not looking out for your own best interest, and that's just stupidity, right? So they're taking advantage of his stupidity in that aspect. So imagine that. 60% of your purse goes to your managers. You get 40%, and you pay tax on 100% of it. He probably got nothing. Shout out to everybody who's been watching. Keep running up the likes on the stream, though. We don't got enough likes on the stream for this breaking news update. We do not got enough likes on the stream for this breaking news update. Joko Bull is saying he's the source. Why are they beefing? I'm just reading some old chats. Oh, no, you says Nick was spun the fuck out when he got to rehab. I was with him in Mexico. No, you, are you still in the chat, homie? Legend Steezy saying it should be the Diaz Academy. These guys are fighting over stupid things in their 40s. Damn, Steezy, you're not wrong about that. It should just be the Diaz Academy. Ruby Z saying, what up, Castro? Freaking sad the brothers are beefing out here. Yeah, it is sad, homie. It is. Everybody's saying, what the fuck, the brothers are beefing? Why are they beefing? Shout out to Juice Man. Shout out to Steezy. I told you guys. Steezy saying Nick has CTE. Kevin, Nick needs to shape up. AD Kid saying drug addiction is a hell of a thing to get out, can take a long time. Addicts will justify any circumstances and their emotions go up and down. Yeah, that's true, AD Kid. Otto saying, yo, what up? I hope you're having a great night out there. Have a great one too. And I hope everyone else is too. My man Otto, always with the positivity. Shout out to Otto. Good to see you in the chat, Otto. Otto, what do you think about the whole Nick Diaz thing? Oh, well, here's what Otto said. Ask and I shall receive. Otto said, tell the truth. I'm kind of confused about everything. So is he in on it or is he not in on it in the situation that he got himself into? So is he in on it or is he not in on it on the situation he got himself into? He's in on it, Otto. Nick is in on it. Nick is in on it, but he's not acting in his best interest, homie. Nick is mistaking the support he's getting from Martin Sano and Kay. But Otto, they're not supporting him, they're enabling him. Does that make sense to you, Otto? So yeah, Nick's in on it. They're all in on it. But the other two are enabling him. And that's what Nick's not in on, because he's mistaking it. But they're enabling him. Kay and Martin Spartan Sano seem to be enabling Nick, and Nick cannot see through that because he's just happy that they're listening to him, right? Because his other option is go to his family who will go against his wishes and not listen to him and force him to get sober. But Nick is lacking self-awareness in that aspect, and he's not able to look himself in the mirror and realize what he's doing. Does that make sense to you guys? I think that should be pretty clear to you guys at this point. Nick is lacking that self-awareness to look himself in the fucking mirror and say, you know what? I'm running from my problems. I'm going towards the easier route, the people who are enabling me, and I'm fucking choosing to just accept it. I'm choosing to just be like, yeah, they're the ones who love me. They're the ones who care about me, when really they enable him. And I'm choosing to fucking push away the people who care about me the most because it's hard for me. And I'm acting like they don't care about me because they won't let me fuck my life off. I mean, that's the best way I could say it. So I hope that clears it up for you, Otto. Juice telling me, I'm surprised you got all this. Usually the Diaz brothers are on the down low with drama. I know, Jew, I know. You know what? I don't know why, but I'm like a magnet when it comes to the Nick Diaz fucking drama. They all be sliding in my DMs pretty much. Believe it or not. Isn't that even crazier, Jew? Like, Nick fell in my lap yesterday. The news today, I did reach out for it, and then homie called me for it. And I'm like, what up, homie? Let's talk. So that's how that all went down. And even before, another one of his sources was DMing me. They always DM me when I post about him. Okay, so Miata Boy saying yeah, but I think they were going to re-sign Mokaev. That one is weird. It is weird, Miata Boy. That's why, like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure, homie. We can wait and find out, but I'm pretty sure, Miata Boy, Nick isn't on the UFC roster anymore. But what I think the bottom line of what we're talking about there is I'm just trying to let you know that I think it's cool that the UFC is still willing to pay for Nick, even if he's not on the roster, right? Because you're saying, of course, they're going to pay for him. He's on the roster. But I'm saying, yeah, I mean, maybe that is true. But if he's not on the roster and they're still paying for him, they deserve more credit too. That's pretty much what we're talking about. Whether he's on the roster or not, I guess we'll fucking find out eventually. But, I don't think he is. But he's on the website. But Roster Watch said that he's got cut. So we don't fucking know. We don't fucking know. Maiko saying, yeah, unbelievable. Honestly, a bit shocking. It is. AD Kid saying, Jacob, 10 years ago, I met a dude who studies under Cesar Gracie. He shared with me how Cesar swindles money from him. I thought he was making it up. Later, his family confirmed Cesar had swindled the money. Yeah, so do you want to know the issue with that, AD Kid? I mean, speaking of what AD Kid's saying, what I found out today is the way Cesar Gracie got outed. This might be the story AD Kid's talking about. But the way Cesar Gracie got outed was basically he was managing Jake Shields. When Jake Shields fought GSP and shit like that, Cesar Gracie got some of the money. Jake Shields' dad, who's always been a big part of his career, if you know, you know. But you got to be a fucking old hardcore to know. But Jake Shields' dad was a big part of his career. So Jake Shields' dad went up to Cesar Gracie and he said, hey, I want to know how much you're making and how much my son's making. Cesar didn't want to show him. Eventually, they argued to the point where he got to find out. And when he found out how much more Cesar was making than Jake, they decided to cut ties with Cesar. And that's when Jake created his own gym, like American Jiu-Jitsu or something like that. And that's also why Gilbert Melendez cut ties with Cesar Gracie too and created El Nino Training Center. Notice how they didn't open up Gracie affiliate gyms because they thought Cesar Gracie was a scumbag. So they went and opened up their own gyms and stopped training under Cesar Gracie and stopped letting him manage him. Cesar Gracie does not manage any of them anymore because of that story I just told you about Jake Shields and his dad after the GSP fight, I believe. But yeah, Jake Shields and his dad essentially exposed Cesar Gracie. Like, that's the fucking bottom of that story, AD Kid. I hope that fucking adds some context. But it's confirmed. It's confirmed. Cesar Gracie, a known swindler. I know more about Cesar Gracie, but I'm not going to share this with the public. But Cesar Gracie, just know when I tell you he is scumbag, he a fucking scumbag. Okay. Maiko saying 13th, like my man, Maiko. Thank you. 80 saying Cesar is not a good person. Motherfucker is a grifter. Unfortunately, Nick Diaz has never evolved to go out and find someone else to train him and manage him. 80 Kid, exactly. And, Cesar takes advantage and fucking keeps himself in that inner circle. Like, it was no coincidence that Cesar Gracie popped out on stream when Neon showed up to the gym. I asked them too. I was like, is Cesar always in the gym or what? Because he was on Neon stream the one day Neon showed up there. And he's like, nah, he was just trying to get his clout up. If you watch the stream, apparently Cesar was trying to keep getting Neon to wrestle his son or roll with his son. So Cesar's son could be featured on Neon's stream. Cesar, a straight grifter, low-key scumbag. Juice saying crazy. Nick used to be the most respected out of the whole camp. I know, bro. I know how things can change. But I'm telling you guys, that's why I'm saying, bro, he's lacking self-awareness. And I don't say that fucking proudly, right? But it's the truth, man. It's the fucking truth. And if anyone in the chat wants to disagree with me, you're free to. I know Nick's going to disagree with me. But shit, the truth can be harsh sometimes if you don't want to accept it. And I really believe that, Drew saying Nick used to be the most respected out of the whole camp. How do you lose being the most respected person in the whole camp? Maybe you lack self-awareness. Maybe you step on toes and never apologize. Maybe you leave the people you love, right? For some bullshit. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why you're not the most respected in the camp anymore. And now Nate is, because Nate's holding down, right? what the fucking mission has been from day one. The only person who aborted mission is fucking Nick. And that's what it seems like. Otto saying, I guess that's a damn shame. Yeah. Oh no, I get it now. Okay, I'm glad you get it, Otto. You know, want to make sure you guys are picking up what I'm putting down here. Miata Boy saying, I used to think that Nick was like the leader, but when Nick got the 5-year ban for the green, then got it lowered to like 5 months, then he left the UFC, I knew he wasn't. Yeah, you know, I think Miata Boy's actually bringing up a crazy point right now that is surprising me that he even knows this. But this was also talked about in our conversation today as well. We talked about everything over that 2 hours. But yeah, like that whole story with Nick with the smoking weed before the Anderson Silva fight. Apparently, you know, Nick's team, because Nick had a history. If you guys don't know, Nick had popped so many times in the past. He'd been penalized, the penalties had been escalated, and that's why this penalty after the Silva fight was so big, because Nick had been penalized and fined in the past. And they knew the rules. The whole team knew the rules going into the fight. But long story short, Nick was like, I want to smoke a joint before I hop on this plane to go to Vegas or wherever the fight took place. Nick's team was like, nah, don't be doing that, bro. Come on now. You know what's going to happen to you. And Nick was like, nah, Anderson Silva's on steroids probably. So fuck it. I'm a smoke my weed. Fuck it anyway. 2 wrongs make a right or some bullshit like that. And so he knew what was going to happen and he did it anyway. You know, that changes a big part of the story for me. You know, him deliberately breaking rules like that. What do you expect's going to happen if all that stuff is true? But yeah, also Miata Boy, to the point Miata Boy said, where Nick got it lowered to like 5 months, then he left the UFC. I knew he wasn't. Yeah, so Nick apparently, I didn't even know that, Miata Boy. So you know something I didn't even know until today as well. But when I was talking to Homie on the phone today, Homie was telling me that, yeah, Nick did get his suspension reduced. And Nick was still fucking off. Nick could have returned a lot sooner. But Nick was just fucking off, you know? But Nick initially got suspended for 5 years. I guess he got it reduced. He could have returned sooner after like 6 months, but he was just fucking off. And he also wasn't like there for his brother and stuff like that at times. Let me look that up though. Did Nick Diaz get his 5-year suspension reduced? Yes, Nick's initial 5-year suspension from the Nevada State Athletic Commission for a failed marijuana drug test in 2015 was significantly reduced to 18 months. Okay, so it wasn't 5 months, it was 18. So a year and a half. A year and a half. So the original suspension was 5 years, $165,000 fine for marijuana. Nick got it reduced to 18 months and a $100,000 fine after his appeal. Okay, I actually never knew about that. That changes so much of that tune right there, because I always thought Nick was permanently suspended for 5 years. I only found out today that Nick wasn't suspended for the full 5 years. He got it reduced to 18 months. And Miata Boy somehow knew. He didn't know the full story, but he knew enough that Nick got it reduced. Damn. Yeah, so Nick was out. You know, he was forced to be out for a year and a half. But how long till Nick returned? Right? Let's look at Tapology real quick. From the time Nick fought Anderson Silva to the time he returned, right? Because if he really wanted to fight, 18 months is all it would have been, right? If he really needed money and all that stuff, 18 months. But Nick took 6 years off. 6 years off from fighting, never returned after Silva, only returned in 2021 to fight Robbie Lawler. Over 6 years off, almost 7 years. If you go off these dates, almost 7 years off. You know, closer to 7 years than 6. And he was only suspended for 18 months. So it goes to show. Miata Boy, great point, homie. Great point, homie. Miata Boy saying Nick left the UFC. He didn't get cut or anything. He left for Bellator. I don't know. No, that would be false, Miata Boy. If you're talking about after Anderson Silva, he was always under contract with the UFC. He always remained under contract. He didn't leave. He always remained under contract, but he just never fought. So it was a stale contract. I don't think the UFC ever had to re-sign him after Silva. He always had fights left on his deal. and he still does have fights left on his deal. Although I think they cut him finally. But no, Nick left for Bellator early on. And actually, he never fought for Bellator. It was Strikeforce. Nick had an early stint in the UFC, right? The UFC, I think, cut him, or he left at that point in time. He might have left back then in 2006. Because after his fight with Gleison Tebow, you know, he went on and fought in Strikeforce and all that stuff. That's when he became the champ. Then the UFC re-signed him after being the champ in Strikeforce. And then, you know, all that stuff happened with his UFC career after that. But Nick never fought for Bellator. He never signed to Bellator. It was Strikeforce that also Scott Coker owned before Scott Coker made Bellator. And Nick was the champion over here. But if you look, Nick had fights in the UFC, right? He had a lot of fights. He had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fights in the UFC. Then he parted ways for whatever reason. Became the champion of Strikeforce that Scott Coker owned. Then he got re-signed to the UFC in 2011 to fight BJ Penn. Nick's prime was spent at Strikeforce. It was, Eric. Do we know why? Can anyone even provide context for me? I would love to know. Why did Nick part ways with the UFC the first time? Weird One, a.k.a. HT, saying, it was reduced to 18 months. I thought you knew that, Jade. The 5 months, Miata boy, I wasn't too sure about that, but I knew it was reduced 18 months many years ago. Yeah, I mean, I'm being honest, HT. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that. I've been crying for years how Nick was suspended for 5 years. No one's ever corrected me. Crazy, because I've also been vocal. I've been fucking crying for years. Okay, Miata Boy saying you might be right. I do remember that he left the UFC, then came back. Yeah. But, I mean, Miata Boy, the point still somewhat stands. He chose not to fight after the Silva fight when really he was only suspended for 18 months instead of 5 years. So, I mean, he wasn't serious. I think your point still stands. It just, some of them were a little bit mixed up. Jew is saying it's because the UFC bought Strikeforce. Yes. Shout out to Jew. My man, Jew. Thank you, Jew. And then Jew's also adding the UFC cut Nick the first time. Okay. All right. So they cut him off at 2 wins, huh? Interesting. Interesting. Because he was coming off 2 wins, but he did, 3 losses to Diego, Joe Riggs, and Sean Shirk. Okay, so yeah, the UFC cut him. But then, he went to Pride, Elite XC, Dream, Strikeforce. I mean, it was arguably a blessing in disguise. Nick's got a legendary career. Starting off in UFC, essentially, then going to Pride. I mean, that's a fucking flex, bro. Pride, fighting Takanori Gomi. Elite XC, the Hawaiian promotion. Dream, another Japanese promotion, I believe. Strikeforce. That's pretty dope. Nick had a really dope career. I wish I was a bigger fan at that point in time, but I was too young. Juice says Nick could have returned in 2018. I thought he could have returned sooner, homie. By the math here, he could have returned midway through 2016. He got suspended January 31st of 2015. It's retroactive from your last fight, right? Not from when you get suspended. So he got suspended after the fight, but it was retroactive to his last competition date. So January 31st, right? The suspension starts. 18 months from January 31st is literally June or July of 2016. That would be 18 months. He could return in 2016, June or July of 2016. Crazy. That's why T Wood was calling him out when he was champ. I see, Jew. I see. T Wood was trying to get that lick, that easy lick. Miata Boy saying, I thought he left because Nate joined and they were both in the same weight class, so he moved organizations. We can Google it. I think Jew might be right about that one, though. But let's see. Let's see. Let's see if AI or ChatGPT got us or fucking whatever got us. Why did Nick Diaz get part ways with UFC the first time? Oh, Nick's first major split from the UFC stemmed from a lengthy suspension by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Oh, that's not true. That wasn't his first lengthy split. Yeah, I guess AI don't got that info. What if I put the year? Why did Nick leave UFC in 2006? And I realized that Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer booked is in the title, but I mean, maybe we could talk about it if you guys want to complain. But fuck that fight. Fuck that fight. Okay, so hear us out, guys. Hear us out. Hear us out. Hear us out. I don't know why the fuck I'm saying hear us out. Hear me out. All right, I got the info now. Okay, so it says Nick Diaz didn't exactly leave the UFC in 2006. Rather, his departure stemmed from escalating issues with the organization, including a post fight hospital altercation with Joe Riggs, general defiance towards UFC officials, and a pattern of failed marijuana drug tests through a major one, though a major one came later in 2007, all culminating in his departure for other promotions like Strikeforce, where he found more success, leading to ongoing tension until his eventual return years later under different terms. So it says post-fight brawl. After fighting Joe Riggs at UFC 57 in February 2006, Diaz and Riggs ended up in the same hospital where they got into another physical altercation, creating chaos and bad press for the UFC. And early on in the UFC, they couldn't afford bad press, right? They could not afford to have these fighters looking like fucking animals. And, that's how Nick was acting essentially. Unprofessional conduct. Diaz consistently displayed an anti establishment attitude, clashing with UFC management like Dana White and refusing to cooperate with promotion requirements, which frustrated the organization. So there we go. We got our answers. Oh, and then yeah, Eric saying I don't think Nick ever fought at 155 pounds in the UFC because he's responding to Miata Boy's point, which was saying that Nick left because they were in the same weight class, and that's a great point. That's a great point. Wow, we got a great chat. That's a great point, Eric. Shout out to Eric for making that point. Nick was a welterweight, Nate was a lightweight. Always been that way. Always been that way, Eric. Thanks for pointing that out. Sometimes I miss things. Damn, Nick fought at UFC 57. That's crazy. He's a real OG from Miata Boy. A real OG. A real OG. That's why people love Nick so much. Honestly. Go back and watch Nick's old fights. They're better than 90% of the fights that take place today. They might be a little bit less skill, but they were fucking great fights. Oh, Eric Gould saying supposedly Nick threw a shoe at Diego Oh my god. Supposedly, Nick threw a shoe at Diego Sanchez backstage before their fight. Damn. We need all the Nick Diaz lore. We need a fucking YouTube video for all the Nick Diaz lore. Drew saying that's a disrespectful matchup. Pyfer doesn't deserve that at all. I get Imavov, but not Pyfer. I know, Jew. Pyfer doesn't deserve that opportunity whatsoever. But I think they're setting his ass up to get knocked out. What do you think, Jew? Do you think they're just trying to give Izzy an easy dub? Or are they trying to like somehow fucking sneak Pyfer an easy dub in Izzy, even though I don't think Izzy's an easy dub? But you should get what I'm saying. Like, are they giving Pyfer the opportunity of a lifetime to propel his name, or are they getting Izzy an easy dub? Miata Boy says Google says Nick did fight at 55 in the UFC. Let's take a look. Welterweight. Welter. 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 All welters. Oh, wait, we got... Oh, no, these are welter, too. Yep, all welter. All welter. Shout out to Nick Diaz. Tyler Betts saying, I think both taking a chance on either. I see. I think Izzy gets the W, though. I think Izzy gets the dub, Tyler Betts. If I were to lean on it, I think the UFC is giving Izzy an easy dub. Tyler Betts, I just got to acknowledge something, though. You were right, homie. I think last night you were the one who was saying you called the Logan Paul versus Bradley Martin fight was AI, right? You called that. You said that it's like a fake AI video. You were 100% right, homie. I think it was you. Confirm that with me if possible, Tyler Betts. But, you know, speaking of this, maybe this is a good transition. But Logan Paul, Bradley Martin, they released their street fight today. All right. The alleged leaked footage, we debunked it last night. This ain't no leaked footage. Oh my God, my hair's looking crazy. This ain't no leaked footage. All right. This is fucking a promotion because they just released Prime protein drinks. So they're promoting the Prime protein drink. They're reenacting their fight. And it's also AI, which is crazy work. So check it out. Logan and Bradley Martin promoting the new Prime protein drink by reenacting their fucking street fight in 2024. We called it, boys. We called it. We knew this was fake. And Tyler Betts called AI for some crazy reason, and Tyler Betts was right. Tyler Betts says, yeah, I saw the full thing today. I noticed his shoes were different. That's exactly the comment I heard from you last night. When I was rewatching the stream, I was like, damn, Tyler Betts fucking on point again. But yeah, let's play it. Logan Paul, Bradley Martin. I already fucking previewed it. Let's play it.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Come on, come on. You know I don't fuck with you, right? That Prime protein looks good. Yeah, no shit, bro. It's 32 grams of protein. You got 2 grams of sugar? Yeah, and it's lactose free. Because it's ultra filtered milk. What's that? Ultra filtered milk. We remove the excess sugars from the milk, leaving just the protein. It's actually bomb if you want to try it. I'll try some. All right. Yeah. Hold on. All right. Let me try this. Damn, it's bomb.
It's good, right?
It's really good.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, let's do this, though.
All right, bet.
Come on. All right. Oh, yo. All right, let's go.
I mean, I think that was AI. The knockout's AI,
You know I
right?
don't fuck with you, right? That Prime protein looks good.
The knockout's AI.
Oh, yo.
This though. All right, bet.
Come on. All right. Oh, yo. All right, let's go.
It's good, right?
It's really good.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, let's do this, though.
All right, bet.
Come on. All right. Oh, yo.
You know, on second look, I'm almost thinking this isn't AI. Do you guys think this is AI or no? Is this knockout AI or no? I mean, the whole thing before it, the first 33 seconds, not AI. But is this fucking AI? It's not AI. It's a reenactment. Okay. You know, when I first watched it, HT, I thought that the knockout was like an AI, but it seems real to me now. It's really good AI. Okay, so the people are mixed. Some people think it's AI, some people don't. I got to rewatch it. I saw a different version.
Good, right?
It's really good.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, let's do this, though.
All right, bet.
Come on. All right. Oh, yo.
I mean, either Logan is an extremely good actor or that's AI. Logan's in the WWE now, so I'm not doubting he could be a good actor. This is WWE level stuff. Logan's in the WWE. Just signed a new long-term deal. One more time.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, let's do this, though.
All right, bet.
Come on. All right. Oh, yo. All right, let's go.
Interesting. Tyler Betts says, I saw a different version. Definitely AI. I've seen multiple endings. Okay, interesting. I mean, shit. That's the first one I came across right here. Should we see this one? Different angle.
Come on. All right. Oh, yo,
same thing.
Come on. All right.
Same thing. Juice responding to my question about Izzy and Joe Pyfer saying, feel like it's a toss-up for the UFC and they want to roll with the result. Okay, I got you, Joe. I am riding with Izzy, though. I already said that. Timothy Rock saying, Google is lying. He fought Gomi and Pride at 165 catch weight. Google AI is straight trash. Yo, what the fuck's going on? We're still live. Shout out to everybody who's stuck in this motherfucking live. So one of the Warriors, let me know if you're in the chat right now. Which one of you Warriors stuck with me on this fucking power outage? I don't even remember what the fuck I was talking about. But we back up and running. Who's still in the chat? We back up and running now. I got some neighbor lore though. I got some neighbor lore if you guys want to hear it. I just want to make sure people are in the chat. What's poppin'? Who's in the chat? Stream went down. I had an internet power outage for a minute. Let me make sure I can hear myself. Okay, yeah, I could hear myself. All right, so my motherfucking, I'm sure you guys are in here. My upstairs neighbor, I gotta whisper this. She fucking texted me. She texted me. The other day we walked by each other. She asked me for my number. So I gave her my number. Wait, my bad. So I gave her my number. And, she was saying, she wasn't trying to flirt with me. She's saying that it's good to have each other's number in case we're being loud. She doesn't have to come knocking on my door. She could just text me. And if there's ever an emergency, she could just, reach out to me or I could reach out to her. Right. So I'm like, all right, yeah, no worries. I'll give you my number. Here's my number. So long story short, I gave her my number yesterday. She didn't text me yesterday, but she texted me tonight at 11:42. And she goes, hi, Jacob. This is your neighbor, Evelyn. Just wondering why it sounds like you're very aggravated when you're on the phone gaming. I'm trying to play white noise over it, but didn't succeed yet to sleep. Sucks that these walls are so thin. Sorry. My guy said the other day, I don't know if that means she got a boyfriend or not, but she goes, my guy said the other day that he had indigestion and you could hear him and said, OMG. It's crazy that this is how much we hear from each other's apartments. I did not hear his indigestion and I did not say OMG. And then she goes, my 10-year-old was writing your dialogues in her diary. So I don't know what the fuck's going on with that. But I guess I'll respond to her when I get a minute. But that's why I'm talking softly now. Because she's trying to sleep. But we got no one else in the stream, or at least no one writing in the chat. Or what if I just gotta reopen the chat? Let's see. Do I reopen the chat? Let's pull up the chat again. Oh yeah, here you guys are. Here you guys are. Soldier time. Shit, the chat was fucking frozen. My bad, boys. The chat got disconnected. I didn't see you guys typing, but I just reset it. Talking about Google AI gets the stream cut SMH. I know. I had a straight power outage over here, boys. All right, I got the chat back up though. Is he froze or is it just me? Nah, Miata boy, I froze, homie. I froze. Froze. It's frozen. Jacob is streaming at the McDonald's. Dude, I don't know what the fuck happened. It's not raining or anything. I don't know why the internet went out. And you know, it's the 14th. So you guys know if it was the first and the internet went out, you could say I didn't pay the bill. But it's the 14th. The bill has been paid. Back on. We're back. We're back. Shout out to all the boys who stuck through soldier time. Shit. Shout out to my soldiers. Shout out to my soldiers. Miata boy says McDonald's Wi-Fi is back online. Holding it down. I'm still here. Yo. All right. Perfect, boys. Tyler Betts' neighbor messing with the power lines. Neighbor stealing cable. LOL. Haha. Gotta go put her to sleep. JK. Yeah, that's what the neighbor was telling me. We walked by each other on the staircase yesterday, and she was like, "Oh," she's like, "Oh, we should exchange numbers." I was like, "Yeah, here's my number. Like, you want to take it down?" So yeah, she took it down. 10-year-old writing your dialogue and diary. I mean, Kevin, that's what she's telling me. I don't know what the fuck that means. But did you hear she said, just wondering why it sounds like you're very aggravated when you're on the phone gaming. Because remember, I told her I'm fucking gaming. That's why I don't know how loud I'm being, because I'm just like talking to people online. So she's like, why do you sound aggravated when you're on the phone gaming? Why is she reading her daughter's diary? LOL. Overbearing mom. Tyler, bet she got to be an overbearing mom, homie. You already know the deal. You already know the deal. What'd you tell her? I haven't responded. I I haven't responded. I think I'm gonna just tell her like, it's back, motherfuckers. It's back. It's back, but this might be my cue to fucking dip out of here before we have any more problems on the night. But I will let you guys know what I said back to my neighbor. I told my neighbor, I said, "Hi Evelyn, sorry I just saw your text. If I sounded angry, I must have been messing around with my friends and giving each other a hard time online, but I'll keep the noise down so you can sleep. My apologies." And then I said, "And I didn't hear your guys' indigestion, LOL. It must have been the other neighbor." And I'm just not even responding to her last text, which was my 10-year-old was writing dialogues. Good night, soldiers. You're done, bro. Game over. OMG, I'm trying to hear what happened. Good night, soldiers. Cooked. Haha. Type it in the cord. Neighbor lore at peak right now, too. Might be the Jews. Jacob should have kissed the wall. Now look, he's streaming from McDonald's back. I'm back, motherfuckers. We're back. And I swear to God, this bitch might be EMPing me right now. Let me read this fucking message to you boys, and then we can get out of here, huh? That's the fucking signal. 3 crash streams. I couldn't even continue it if I wanted to. All right, I'm gonna read you guys what I responded to my neighbor, and we're out of here. If you guys didn't hear or if the stream shit out, I'm gonna say it again. I said, "Hi, Evelyn. Sorry I just saw your text. If I sounded angry, I must have been messing around with my friends and giving each other a hard time online, but I'll keep the noise down so you can sleep. My apologies. I didn't And then I also responded, I said, "Also, I didn't hear your guys' indigestion, lol. It must have been the other neighbor." And then I said, shit, she sent me something about her daughter writing my dialogue in her diary. I ain't even finna respond to that shit because I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. And this bitch is probably EMPing me as we speak. So that's my response to her. I'm just keeping the peace, but I'm power tripping on her. I ain't responded to all her text messages. I responded to 2 of the 3. 2 of the 3 is all you get from me. 2 out of 3 responses. But all right, boys. Shout out to all you guys who stuck through. I'm going to dip out before the stream shits out again. All right. I'll be live tomorrow. I hope you guys appreciated the breaking news update about the Diaz brothers tonight. Shout out Space Kid, Otto, Miata Boy, Tyler Betts, Soda Pop, Kevin from Chicago. All right. Much love to Timothy Rock saying, I think your neighbor is EMPing the Wi-Fi. I think so, homie. Timothy, I think so. Timothy, make sure you subscribe if you're still in the chat for more neighbor lore in the future. As you can tell, the neighbor lore gets juicy here, homie. And shout out to Timothy Rock for fucking sticking through the whole way, even through the cutouts, as a new fucking viewer, my man. Shout out to Eric. Shout out to HT, aka Weird One. Shout out to Jew, my man. Jew always popping in the chat. Shout out. And that's all I got. That's all I got because I had to fucking close out the last chat box. So I don't see everybody who's been participating in the chat, but I named everyone I could. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out, everybody. Peace out, everybody.